3 weekends left to go in the 2019 Euroformula Open Championship, and season touches down here at the home of British motorsport, Silverstone in Northamptonshire, for the British leg of the 2019 season. 5.9 kilometres of the full Grand Prix circuit here at Silverstone, 15 laps or 35 minutes maximum. It should be a fantastic race, as it has all been all the way through this season. Afternoon, everybody. Scott Woodward's here along with Elliot Wood in the commentary box on what should be an incredible race weekend so far. 16 degrees air temperature, 26 degrees track temperature, which has gone up after this morning's qualifying session, and 60% humidity that continues to go down, so the threat of rain is ever decreasing. Well, after what was a very tense and very energetic and entertaining qualifying session, a slightly mixed up grid with a couple of fantastic lap times, particularly with Kioya and Enem Ahmed, two drivers on screen here, setting track record breaking laps. So it certainly gives a bit of an idea of what kind of pace we can expect from these two in the race going forward this afternoon.
Yeah. And we've got the sun has literally just come out. I always do a pre-race weather check before I join the comms box for these races. And hopefully it will stay a little bit windy as well, because that can help the tow down one or both of the straights, depending which way the wind is blowing here.
So, as we say, we've had already 4 weekends so far this season for Euroformula Open. And last time out, of course, with the Red Bull Ring course here at Silverstone. We've still got Barcelona in a couple of weeks' time, and Monza in the middle of October to finish off the season. And it has been very competitive. There's been a number of main championship competitors who are otherwise occupied this weekend. They're not here competing. In particular, of course, either Marino Sato, who I think in many cases has such quite a big championship lead. In many cases, it's not really not missed too much. A couple of lost race results where he got such a big lead in the title race, when he could possibly even just go to maybe Barcelona and Monza and just bank the points he needs and just hold on until the end at Monza.
That is correct. He did actually want to race here this weekend, but unfortunately he had 2 dates booked on the same day in his calendar, so he had to pick Formula 2, which is a great drive to see that Euroformula drivers are being picked to go into the top echelons of junior single-seaters and just blow F1. And the drivers are completing their installation laps, so I imagine they're going to form on the grid. The screen, the view we're seeing now does look slightly cloudy, but I can guarantee you there is sun out there.
So that's a few more cars to make their way through towards the grid. To give you an idea of just effectively sort of how the championship sits out in terms compared to who's here. Of course, we've got Marino Sato, as we see one of our onboard views. I think that is it possibly Billy Munger we've got on board cam with here now. This could be a good shot we might utilise throughout the race. So Billy Munger, who will start 4th at his home race here at Silverstone, as he makes his way on his run towards the grid down the hangar straight up towards Stowe. And this onboard view here, and it gives you a great sort of idea of the kind of speeds and what it feels like at the wheel of an F3 car here, particularly the kind of the view you get, of course, as you're heading around this fantastically wide and fast-flowing Grand Prix circuit. Yeah,
the seating position of Formula 3 cars is incredibly low, so a lot of these corners are entirely blind to the drivers. And there's also, although the track has been resurfaced, there are a few bumps. I believe going into Club Corner just for the braking point, there's a significant drop in the tarmac, and some of them are cambered as well, which are really hard to spot when you're sitting so low in the car.
To give you an idea of how the point says at the moment coming into the weekend, Marino Sato, who's not here, has 262 points. Second place, Lucas Dunner, who is here, has 154. Liam Lawson, who's not here, has 120. Yuki Tsunoda, who's not here, has 110. Julian Hanses, who's not here, has 98. Lionel Lundqvist, who is here, has 96. And it's Jack Doohan, who isn't here this weekend, as he's otherwise occupied. Christian Hahn, who is here, is 8th. Tepi Nattori, who isn't here, is 9th. And Caelan Williams rounds out the top 10 with 42 points, who is here. And Billy Munger is just behind him, 5 points back in 11th place. So plenty of spectators around here, and I'm sure the majority will be here to support the majority of the familiar names, particularly the British drivers on the grid. I'm sure most likely Enem Ahmed and Billy Munger will probably get the most support from the home crowds, particularly the fact that they're sort of known names around the British motorsport scene. Both of them are competing in British Formula 3 and British F4 as a result as well. And see Billy Munger picking his way through to his grid slot here in 4th place. So there's obviously a lot of home support for these two drivers. I'm sure that they'll feel that when they head round this first race, which I'm sure is going to be quite an occasion for them when you've got so many spectators out here cheering them on.
For both of them, it is their only time racing in the UK this year. Enem races in Japan mostly, and Billy obviously races in Euroformula, which goes all around Europe. Earlier today, in his garage, Billy had several other young amputees showing them how his car works, the special control system, and generally being an inspirational guy.
Brilliant. He is an inspiration to many across in motorsport. Just saw Toshiku Oyu on pole position. Alongside him here, former British F3 champion Enem Ahmed, who jumps into the Team Motor Park car in place Oh, I think it's Julian Hansen's season.
Marino Sato.
Marino Sato in that car. I keep trying to get because they're all very similar looking cars. I get them mixed up slightly. So, but Toshiki Oyo, of course, is familiar with these cars, as is also NMR, of course, because they run a very similar chassis, if not the same chassis in Japanese Formula 3. So it's not necessarily the car they have to get grips with, it's more the circuit. Then again, you would have thought in many cases Armand would have more of the advantage because, of course, he's raced the circuit several times. But Takeshi Oyo really has taken to Silverstone very, very quickly, and it showed that with his blistering pace in qualifying.
His free practice pace at first was incredible because he topped first practice. And then in the second session, both he and Arm broke the existing track record, which was set last year by Lando Norris, who now races McLaren in Formula 1. And then in qualifying this morning, without a tow, they both pushed each other to the limit and set a record. I was chatting to Oyu earlier. His English isn't great, but he has some stock phrases in a notepad he helpfully had at hand. And he has a lot of supporters in Japan, including none other than Shinji Nakano, who may not be a name well known in Europe, but he is a big influence on the Japanese racing scene. And he's taken guys like Pato O'Ward under his wing in Super Formula. And Oyu is saying how, although he drives for could call it like an independent team over there, he gets the same amount of support because in Japanese motorsport they take it so seriously. So they're prepared for anything that comes, and whether that be a rainy or windy day at Silverstone or a really tight Japanese circuit, then he should always be quick, is the expectation that Japan prepares them for. Yeah,
you mentioned Shinji Nakano. Of course, those who know the Formula 1 will know he was Prost Formula 1 driver in 97, Minardi driver in 98. He didn't even have a spell in Indy car at one point, or in cars at one stage. So, because he's moved on to kind of be more sort of, a driver coach these days, as you mentioned, in many cases, to give them a bit more support going forwards. But like I said, it is great to see not just Toshiki Oya, of course, but they've also got Yuki Tsunoda coming through, Marino Sato. We talked about this in qualifying, the fact we've got so many great young Japanese drivers are coming through. They're coming through the ranks now. That seems to be the kind of next sort of wave of, or country or nation that's been to bringing in these sort of these great young talents that are coming through. And you're absolutely right. You look at the championships over in Japan, like Super Formula and even Super GT and other championships like that, and they do take motorsport very, very seriously. It's like how it used to be back in the days of the 80s, particularly the 90s, when you used to get drivers like Mika Salo, Eddie Irvine, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, I think Pedro de Rosa, those kind of guys. Ralf Schumacher was another one. They went out to Japan to go and forge careers because there was money and sponsorship and backing out there to do that. They managed to ply their craft out there, learn in many cases out of the spotlight, and got themselves into Formula 1, and all arguably had very decent, very good careers.
Yeah, and Marino Sato is our championship leader. He is coached by none other than Taki Inui, the absolute legend. And it's a very unusual system there because Inui doesn't tell Sato how to drive. He tells him how not to drive. So he basically says all the things he shouldn't be doing, and then Sato ignores him and he does the correct thing.
This will happen last time out at the Red Bull Ring. A bit of a jump start there for Liam Lawson. Not Liam Lawson.
Julian Hansen.
Julian Hansen said that last time. And then there was a bit of combat into turn one between the two cars, Christian Hahn and Billy Munger. Lars Lundqvist was having a good fight in the mix as he went grass tracking over the gravel. But plenty of battling up and down the field on this one. And of course, plenty of passing. Particularly saw Caelan Williams there scrapping with the Teo Martin cars. And all sorts going on, particularly more and more contact. And that was one of the dramatic moments in the mix. But Julian Hansen was able to go ahead and pick up a strong victory as he headed to the checkered flag. And it was, for him, a fantastic result. Sorry, it was Marino Sato got the victory, my apologies. In race two, equally good start for the front row for the two Motor Park drivers. A good start for Lars Lundqvist as well. But it was a weekend where there was plenty of scrapping amongst the back markers and plenty of sort of battling at the front and towards the midfield.
Yeah, a lot of people qualified further down the order than they expected to because, and you see with Billy Munger at the back of the picture there, track limits was a frequent issue. And a lot of drivers got to the end of qualifying, expected to be in like second or third, and found themselves on the back row. So they were very aggressive in trying to recover that lost ground, while Sato, as we're seeing here, just had the easiest race possible up front and won both races.
So Marino Sato a double winner, and that did his championship chances no harm whatsoever. Of course, not present this weekend, but it does give possibly another Japanese talent or somebody else possibly the chance to share the limelight this weekend. So it'll be a 15-lap race, all 35 minutes, whichever one comes first. Race one of the weekend here at Silverstone for Euroformula Open. Here is how they line up. Toshiki Oyu on his Euroformula Open debut takes pole position. Alongside him, Enem Ahmed on the front row of the grid. The Carlin Motorsport boys of Nikolai Kiergaard and Billy Munger on row 2. Cameron Dass, the American, on row 3 alongside Dennis Hauger of Norway. Nicolas Kruttum and Christian Hahn make up row 4 for Germany and for Brazil. And then rounding out the top 10, Linus Lundqvist for Double R Motorsport, look at Lucas Dunner for Teo Martin. Caelan Williams, the former Australian F3 champion, starts 11th alongside Manuel Maldonado, the cousin of Pastor Maldonado, and then Rui Andrade for Angola, and Stuart Wiltshire in his second appearance this season for CF Racing in 14th place on the grid. Now, of course, temperatures will be up a little bit than they were in qualifying, which means that possibly that might have an effect on tyres towards the end of the race, of course, being a 35-minute race or 15 laps, whichever comes first. So the increasing track temperature means it'll be easier to get these tyres up to temperature, which is what they might have struggled with a little bit in qualifying, having to run a bit harder at the pace they might have higher they wanted to have been. But at the same time, the trade-off is higher track temperature means the tyres will degrade and wear further. That could be a crucial issue if people push too hard in the opening stages in this first race.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to weave to warm up your tyres in Euroformula. It's a rule specific to the championships. Some of the drivers looked like they were starting to do that a little bit there, and they would get warnings if they continued to do so. Tyre temperature is an important thing here, but with these Michelin tyres, they're very peaky grip, and essentially you can kind of bring the life out of them for 2 laps, and after that you get a very steady pace going on, and it's only the thermal side, which is where the degradation comes in. They don't kind of shed rubber as much as other compounds do.
So the drivers make their way around on the formation lap. There's 1 or 2 drivers that are weaving on that formation lap to get a little bit of heat if they can, to possibly try and get away with that. Now, I guess we have to watch out for the 2 Carlin cars behind on the second round. We're talking particularly, not just because he's a home favourite, also Billy Munger's. Of course, he has got the particular sort of hand control system, and he has said in the past, hasn't he, that his starts aren't that great. But of course, as you've seen, you would probably beg to differ with some of the starts he's made throughout the season so far.
Yeah, as in the Red Bull Ring, I think he made 4 places on one lap, on the first lap, and then had contact, lost them all. At Po, I think he made 6 on one lap. Hockenheim, he came from almost last on the grid, I believe, to in point position, and then got shuffled back down and came back up and then shuffled back down. So his first laps are normally absolutely brilliant. He has some great racecraft. He just hasn't had the end results this season, besides his Po Grand Prix victory.
We should mention that Toshiki Oyu is in the car that usually Yuki Tsunoda drives, but just to clarify, he's not a Red Bull back driver, he's a Honda back driver, but he's simply, the car hasn't been re-livered because it's simply just Tsunoda's car from the last couple of rounds. So if you're wondering if he's an addition to the Red Bull driver program, many might argue with his performance he's put in, he might well be, he might well should be, but of course we'll have to wait and see how he puts the performance on, but watch for him from the start. So, Toshiki Oyu on the right, Enem Ahmed on the left. 15-minute laps or 35 minutes of Euroformula Open action here at Silverstone, waiting for the green flag. Watch for the lights at the top. They'll go red when they go out. We're all set to get racing. Revs rise, and race number 1 of Euroformula Open gets underway with the lights go out now. Decent start from the front couple of rows. Good start from Oyu from pole position. Enem Ahmed slots in second place. Good start, Billy Munger up into third place. We said to watch out from the second row of the grid. Ahead of his teammate Nikolai Kiergaard. Immediately we go on board now, watching the back of Enem Ahmed's car. So Brits are second and third in the run down towards the complex. Nikolai Kiergaard's in fourth position. Then it's Hauger in the mix is up there in fifth position, looking battling there with Cameron Das. They come through.
And that is title contender Lucas Dunner, who's had contact at the back of the grid. I believe that may be with Manuel Maldonado, Forte. That is terrible news to Dunner, because he is our lead driver in the points here, as Marino Sato is not present.
So Lucas Dunner in trouble. Manuel Maldonado has also got, looks like, damage on the front nose cone as well as they come up towards Stowe Corner. And the 2 Carlin cars are going side by side. Kiergaard looking round the outside of Billy Munger into Stowe Corner, and he's got through. So after losing out of the start, Kiergaard gets his teammate back around the outside at Stowe Corner. It's 5th place for Cameron Das, 6th for Dennis Hauger, who's under threat from Linus Lundqvist, 8th place for Nicholas Crutten, 9th for Caelan Williams, for Christian Hahn. Manuel Maldonado has got damage on the front end of that car. There is at the back of the field Stuart Wiltshire, but as just to confirm that, Lucas Dunner hasn't come around the first sector, and unfortunately, Elliot, he is out at turn 1 on the first few corners.
Yeah, and that incident is already under investigation. Watching Christian Hahn and Callum Williams go side by side, Billy Munger is now under pressure from Cameron Das, who's another of the motor park drivers. He's already lost a bit of time to Nikolai Kiergaard, who's chasing Ahmed, and our leader, Toshiko Oyu, looking at his first sector, almost a second quicker than Enem Ahmed. He is on another level this weekend, Oyu is.
No wonder he's a Honda back driver. He's certainly proving it his worth here as they come down. It's Billy Munger under attack now from Cameron Das into Brooklands Corner, takes the defensive line into the complex. But the American will try and get him back on the exit here. A little wiggle of oversteer from Billy as he comes up through Luffield, and he gets a likewise from Cameron Das, tries to put the power down. Hauger is into 6th position, 7th place for Linus Lundqvist, 8th now for Crutten, 9th for Hahn, and 10th for Caelan Williams as they end the first lap. And Toshiki Oyu's lead gap at the end of that first lap is... the 2 transponders haven't come through properly on that one, so we'll check the gap in a second once they flick back to the top of the screen. because the timing screen is showing us that it's Kioya leading. That's not the case. They come through. Gap was already 1.6 seconds at the start of that first lap, which is impressive for somebody in their first Euroformula Open start at the circuit that they've never been to. There's Manuel Maldonado with the front wing dangling off the front of the car, and the front of the nose cone is punched in as well, so there's a hole there where this should be covered up. But you can see the gap already. Toshiki Oyo is literally streaking away about a lap and a half into this race, like he's done this before, like ages in Europe. It's the first time out of Japan. Incredible.
This is astonishing, and we're seeing a great move around the outside of Stowe by Niklas Krutton on Linus Lundqvist. It is notable that, although it isn't coincidence, but this is a circuit that favours the Spies engine cars. And I believe the top 7 right now are all powered by the Spies engine, and everyone below that is HWA, which is why the Motorpark and Carlin teams are looking particularly strong. I'm surprised that Oyu's pulled out away so much, because we've got 2 long straights here where you'd expect Ahmed could close back in.
And you've got drivers who have raced the circuit, particularly second, third, and fourth, several times before. Adam Ahmed, Nicholas Kioya, Billy Munger, who raced it, especially in British F3. So on paper, these guys really should be the pace setters, but Oyu simply just taken the fight to all of them and just thrown the form book completely out the window.
Absolutely, and we've never seen Marino Sato do this before. Although he extends his lead out to a huge margin by the end of some races, we've never seen such a big gap at the end of lap 1.
I think Motorpark will want to sign him up for the rest of the season at this rate, effectively, for Barcelona and Monza if he carries this up. So, battle is on for second, third, fourth and fifth now. Enem Ahmed for Motorpark ahead of the Carlin duo. Here's a replay of the start. Let's talk us through it here. A nice clean start for Toshiki Oyu, but let's look at Billy Munger start up the inside of Nicholas Kioya for third place.
It looked like Ahmed had a little bit of wheel spin as well, possibly preloaded the clutch a little wrong. And Munger got the best start as usual. Great launch off the line, and so you can see him looking in his mirror straight away. He wants to avoid. Oh, that is Lucas Dunner's own fault there, I believe.
Yeah,
he's just rode the sausage curbs, which are the FIA Grade 1 curbs required to hold Formula 1 races. That is a costly error there.
So Lucas Dunner effectively did that all by himself, and Manuel Maldonado was an innocent victim in that. So he got caught up and he damaged the front nose section and the front wing. So he's back down to 13th place. Lucas Dunner sadly out of the race, as we found out now, all of his own doing, which is crucially bad for the champion, because as far as I'm aware, there's no drop scores in this championship, as far as I'm aware.
No drop scores.
So literally, effectively, any points you lose them. You don't get a chance to get them back. As round the outside for Cameron Das on Billy Munger, who shuts the door on him into Curling Club corner. No, you don't, Cameron, as he comes up through the mix. And look at this. Dennis Howgate gets a chance to go around the outside, possibly, if he can get onto the back of the American. But here's the view that Billy Munger's got, trying to chase after the top 3 who are pulling away. The gap is already for 2.6 seconds as Toshiki Oyo on this first proper flying lap now here is already on the fastest first sector of anyone else so far, possibly the fastest second sector, and I'm sure the gap must be, it's probably, I guess, maybe at least 3 seconds by the end of the lap. It's an incredible opening couple of laps on this young Japanese talent. Brilliant stuff. Absolutely,
and given his sector times at the moment, he could be breaking the track record in this race if the tyres last. We're looking at the front battle at the moment. They have opened up, particularly apart from the Munger and Das battle, and Das is looking at Billy Munger again, who's closed the door at Brooklands, and the long double apex corner coming up afterwards.
Out through Luffield and up towards Woodcote, but all this battling, all it's doing is the harder they fight each other, the easier it is for the 3 cars in front to make a break and get away, but also the easier it is for the cars behind to start to close in and make this battle even bigger and bigger. So what was a 2-car battle is now a 3, possibly a 4-car battle, because Dennis Hauger's up in the mix there, and almost possibly, if they carry on fighting, so could be for an impressive debut for himself as well. Nicholas Krutton in 7th place up there, not too far away, only about 6/10 of a second back from Dennis Hager at the end of that lap, and possibly gets a sniff of this battle. There's Linus Lundqvist, who's also familiar with these circuits, having raced here in Silverstone and British F4 and British F3 respectively, so he certainly is familiar to it as well. End of the lap, it was 2.6, end of that sector, it's 2.6, make it 3 seconds now for Toshiki Oyu after 2 and a bit laps. Enem Ahmed back in second place. He's got about 6/10 of a second advantage over Enem Ahmed in second. Kiergaard is third. Billy Munger fourth. Cameron Das fifth. Let's have a look. No further action between cars 28, which is fair because, of course, it was, as we said, Lucas Dunner's own doing, sadly. Of course, Manuel Maldonado was obviously completely innocent party in that bit, getting caught up in the incident. But there is Toshiki Oyu. And looking at it now effectively, already after 3 laps, it looks like he was completely out on his own, as if he's got a much bigger lead than 3 seconds. He's simply just, I like to use the term, spread-eagling the field right now. He's simply just charging in front and treating it as a casual Saturday afternoon drive right now. It's incredible.
And he has a super smooth driving style as well, which isn't going to take the life out of the tyres as much as we see some of the other drivers doing here. The formation lap is under investigation. I imagine that is for the tyre weaving. I can't remember the names of the drivers who were doing it, but I don't think it would include Oyu at the front.
I think one of them might have been Christian Hahn, I think, because I remember his car was going a little bit side to side, so it might be possibly one here. There were also a couple of drivers that were doing a couple of practice starts, which I'm guessing must be also frowned upon as well, I'm guessing, to cut time with the weaving. Out through Luffield at the end now of lap 4. And this is the fight that's going on here between Billy Munger, Cameron Dass, the American, and the Norwegian Dennis Hauger. Gap is now 3.1 between the leaders, Toshiki Oyu and Enem Ahmed. Nikolai Kiergaard in third place now. Here's that scrap for fourth as they head out through Copse Corner. So Billy Munger's car, of course, the two-tone blue car, the dark blue and sort of turquoise number 31 car. Cameron Dass's car is the sort of blue and black car with the red piping, and you'll spot the American flag on the side of that car as well. And there, the Red Bull car, Dennis Hauger, a big tail slide there for Nicholas Crutton, who's really pushing on. And also trying to get involved there is Linus Lundqvist. I think there's been either a problem or some kind of an offline moment there for Nicholas Crutton, because he's either struggling with a problem or just lost momentum as Linus Lundqvist charged his way through.
Yeah, and someone's brought a lot of dust onto the entrance of that straight at Chapel. I could see a huge amount of dust, and Christian Hahn got loose on it as well, behind them. Looking at Oyu at front, he's got a lot slower than he was previously, but he's still the only driver in the 1 minute 50s. I think Enem Ahmed's the closest to get to him in 1 minute 51.1. He's currently at 1 minute 51.3. But Oyu is absolutely clear in this race. Extended his lead by another 2 tenths in the first sector.
So 3.3 the gap. This is the fight for second place between Enem Ahmed and Nikolai Kiergaard. Kiergaard is doing pretty well. It's one of his more improved performances this season, of course, having sort of been a little bit off the pace in previous rounds from what I gather at it. But this weekend here at Circuit, I guess he's much more familiar with. He seems to be kind of finding his rhythm back again, which he might have had before in the likes of British F4 and F3 that he might have lost in the first few rounds.
This is a circuit he's raced at multiple times in F3 and F4, so should be the one he's most comfortable at, and is one that Carlin has traditionally been very strong at. It looks like Billy Munger's starting to escape Cameron Dass's attacks now, but Dennis Hauger's starting to put pressure on Dass from behind, so it might just be a case of Dass is now more focused on his mirrors than attacking Billy in front.
You have to remember as well, also Cameron Dass and Dennis Hauger have had their time in the UK as well, because Cameron Dass has had running in, I think, British Formula 3, I think, at one point. And of course, Dennis Hauger was in last year's British F4 Championship as well. So they both would have raced on Silverstone. Cameron Dass may or may not have had a chance on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, whereas Dennis Hauger would have raced on the national layout, which is basically all the way through Copse. They would have basically turned right here up at Maggots and Beckett's onto the Wellington Straight. So he knows part of the circuit, but it's the longer Grand Prix circuit he might not be so familiar with. Linus Lundqvist is another one. Again, has raced F4 and F3, and he currently sits in 7th place, running a little wide on the exit there. Be careful not to kick up too much dust. He might come under threat now from Nicholas Crutton in the 8th position.
Oyu set another fastest lap, so he seems to have backed off on the previous lap to get it down to a 1 minute 50.8. But Nikolai Kiergaard in Enem Ahmed's slipstream is set at 150.994, so he's only the second driver to get into the 1 minute 50s.
And Ahmed seems to, as you say, wound his pace up a little bit more, because he's now getting closer and closer to Oyu's pace. But even so, they're still at least a couple of tenths slower than the Japanese driver at the front of the field. 3.5 seconds the advantage now. And I'm guessing these two, Oyu and Ahmed, possibly might even know each other from when they've raced before. I'm guessing against each other in Japanese F3 from when they've raced against each other there. So there's knowledge between those two, in particular their battles between each other, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they're currently fighting over third in the standings in Japanese Formula 3. There's 1 round left of the season, and both of them are trying to make sure they've got a committed drive for next season as well, which are kind of dependent on their performances there. But Japanese Formula 3, which will be renamed Super Formula Lights, and Euroformula Open are introducing the new Dallara 320 car next year. And there's going to be a lot of kind of symbioticness, that's probably the wrong word, working together between the two championships. So any mileage in Euroformula is going to help in the other championship, and any Japanese F3 drivers who need extra mileage can come here.
Sounds like a bit of a similar type to what DTM and Super GT have done with their regulations. It's very similar regulations in the way that they're using pretty much the same sort of cars. So we've got to see a bit of a crossover in terms of we see maybe more drivers in the Japanese Championship coming over to the Euroformula Open rounds, and vice versa, more to European drivers, as it used to be, going back over to the Japanese races, as it starts to become again, because we've had drivers like, in the past, Dan Tipton, Pierre Gasly, now Pato Award's gone across there as well, and a few others. More and more drivers are going back across to Japan now to find their route, to kind of get themselves professional drivers or paid drivers over there to develop their career, when some of the slots in Europe either might not be as highly subscribed grids in other championships they might have not figured out, or maybe just because they can't get the opportunity because other grids in the other competitive championships might have been full up.
And the origins of Euroformula Open is it's been a very affordable championship compared to other similar series, and Red Bull and several other F1 teams have had a strong presence here. Sebastian Vettel's raced here, Jaime Alguersuari, obviously Red Bull currently has Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, Jack Doohan, Dennis Hauger. They have a lot of drivers here, and it's because it's affordable racing with one of the best racing cars on the planet, many drivers would say, which is the Dallara Formula 3 car.
I'm pretty sure, so at one point in his career, I think Carlos Sainz might have even raced in this championship at one point, a while ago as well, I think, possibly.
I think so, yeah.
But so plenty of potential Grand Prix talent has come and gone in this championship. Toshiku Oyu now has the gap out to 3.7 seconds. His pace has now dropped into the low 151s. His last lap was a 151.1, as we just see in the background. That was Lucas Dunner's car on the back of a low loader, sadly, so his car done for race 1. He'll try and get back out for race 2, I'm sure, tomorrow. He'll have a chance to qualify in tomorrow's session, starting with tomorrow, as Toshiku Oyu makes his way out of Luffield, up through Woodcote now at the end of lap 7. Not on a personal best lap time pace this time by, but he does do a 150.9 to cross the line. Cars for second and third, look at their times, 151.3 for Ahmed, 151.1, almost a 151.2 for Kiergaard. So even though Toshiku's pace he's still lapping near as fast as that pace, but it's backed up by a tenth or so. But even so, the cars behind just don't seem to be able to match it.
And this is what we've seen with Marino Sato frequently this year as well. Although Marino Sato has a very different driving style to Shikioyu, and a motor park normally set up their cars to be quite loose, which isn't something you want at a circuit like this. So it seems the natural setup direction you should take at Silverstone kind of fits in well with how Oyu drives and how Enam Ahmed drives as well.
Just saw a brief onboard shot there of Billy Munger in 4th position as we look at our scrap for second between Enam Ahmed for Motor Park and the Carlin man Nikolai Kiergaard. As a driving team manager of car 14, which is the race leader, Toshiku Oyu, report to the stewards after the race. Now, hasn't for the formation lap on the message we're seeing here. Now, is that possibly for maybe the only thing I can think of is possibly is weaving? I'm thinking side to side.
I imagine it could be, but the notice from the stewards isn't that he's under investigation. It's just that his team manager needs to report to them. So this shouldn't affect the race result. It may be a case that obviously he's new to the championship, so he didn't quite get the rule hammered into his head properly before he sat out on track today.
Well, whatever happens, Oyu's gap is now over 4 seconds now, 4.1 after he's now 7 laps here. So incredible effort so far.
It'd be good to see a replay of Lucas Dunner's crash because Teo Martin struggled in free practice yesterday, and they changed the engine overnight for today. So new engine. And they had no data for that engine, so they went for a very different setup. And I think Dunner said to me that the setup wasn't quite how they wanted it to be. Now, if you get launched into the air and you land, that can damage the back of the car. And if they've just put a new engine in, they might have already damaged it.
Yeah, they might have Lucas might have unintentionally given them some more work to do overnight, sadly, which is not what he wanted to do, of course. And they've also got to run 2 GT Cup Open cars and 3 McLarens. Billy Munger with a personal best that last time by. He was a fraction faster than Nikolai Kiergaard. The gap is 3.4 seconds between Kiergaard and Munger at this point. As we see our race leader Toshiku Oyu. How much are you thinking now? How much would you love to see Marino Sato versus Toshiku Oyu on track together in Euroformula Open? Those two fighting out amongst each other in many cases. How good would that be? I think it would be great.
Oyu did say he was considering doing another Euroformula round for the end season if it doesn't clash with anything. Obviously, Motor Park will then have to bring an extra car along because their regular drivers will be back for the next 2 rounds. But it would definitely be interesting to see him on European circuits. And like you said earlier, I'm sure the fact that he is in Red Bull colours this weekend, Red Bull can go, that's our success now. He's ours.
Yeah, he's racing our colours, we claim dibs. So, and they might possibly scoop him up. And that'd be not one but 2 Japanese talents they've got underneath their wing. Because that'd be not just Sonoda, but also they'll also be drafting up Oyu as well. There's Billy Munger, 4th place, and still holding on. He's in a bit of no man's land at the moment because he's 3.5 seconds behind Kiergaard, but he's 1.2 seconds ahead of Cameron Dass. So he's not really gaining too much. Well, I say he's not gaining time. He just set another personal best last time by, of course. But he's not gaining too much time to the cars in front. But he's not really losing that much time to Cameron Dass and everyone else behind. So he's sort of a little bit stuck in 4th position at the moment, trying to make some progress as Nikolai Kiergaard is mainly focused staring at the gearbox of Enam Ahmed as they come up through Woodcote to complete another lap. It's now 9 laps in the books. The gap is now up to 4.6 seconds now for Toshiku Oyu. Not bad for a young man on his first time on the UK circuits here. And I imagine some of these faster corners might have a little bit of a similarity to somewhere like maybe Fuji Speedway. Obviously, we look at some of the corners and the long straights they've got there.
The S curves at Suzuka as well.
Yes, very true.
Beckett's complex.
Very true. Although these Magnus Beckett's doesn't have as much elevation change at some parts as Suzuka does.
And drivers are taught here to treat it almost all as one corner, whereas in Suzuka it's very definitely a set of different corners that you need to run into the next one perfectly.
Oh yes, Suzuka's one of the great challenges in the world, as is Silverstone. It might be quite flat, it might be an X-Air base, doesn't mean it's any less challenging. It's very fast, very flowing, and it is a real driver's favourite for many around the world. So, Enem Ahmed holding on to Nikolai Kiergaard here in second and third place. Another personal best for Billy Munger, but he was still about half a tenth off the lap time for Kiergaard. There he is in the background in fourth position. So you can see the back of his teammate's car, but it isn't quite edging that close enough towards him. But I think, and once again, pace-wise, I think Billy can take some confidence that fourth certainly shows that he has got relatively front-running pace, especially when he's running in front of his home fans here.
He should have finished at least fourth at the Red Bull Ring last time out if it wasn't for several incidents. And I think it was on the penultimate lap that he got taken out of a good position as well. He has set another personal best. I think the fact Carlin should take a lot of confidence as well, because besides Pau Grand Prix, they haven't been on the podium much this year either. Nikolai Kiergaard is absolutely taking the battle to Enem Ahmed in second place.
Here's a slow-mo shot of Nikolai Kiergaard. And this is him running just a little bit wide over the curbs here.
Yeah, and you can see the green curbs. They are the Formula 1 ones and the ones that launch the car into the air. And after an incident elsewhere in the world today, they're a bit under investigation for what they've been doing.
Yeah, look at this. They're very much like those exit curves, very much like a sawtooth sort of curve, extra little outer curve to the main one that you see. So, and that's obviously can damage down the tray, can damage the diffuser, can damage the bottom of the car if you're not careful and you run over those too much. Billy Munger's turned the pace up now because he's actually gained in that last lap another 0.7 of a second. The last lap was a 151.0 for him, another new personal best. It was a 151.7 for Nikolai Kiergaard, 151.1s for both Enem Ahmed and Toshiki Oyu, but Oyu's one was about still 0.08 of a second quicker. So Oyu's pace is still 4.8 seconds in terms of his lead gap, and he was still a tenth of a second quicker than second and third place men in that first sector alone anyway. So keeping comfortably in the lead here into the complex at Vale and Club.
Although Oyu's performance is impressive, I believe he is actually the second oldest driver in the field. Obviously, Stuart Wiltshire is quite old. Oyu's 21 years old, but his teammate Dennis Hauger, he's only 16, and he's also making his debut. And this is his Formula 3 debut as well. I think he's had 4 testing days in Formula 3 car before. He's currently in 6th place, and he is hassling Cameron Das for 5th still. So that would also be a great debut performance in Formula 3 at a very difficult circuit like this.
These two drivers a little bit further back down the order than they would like to be. Kalen Williams scrapping away with the Brazilian driver Christian Hahn. Of course, his father Marcelo races in the GT Open Championship in the wheel of a Teo Martin McLaren, whereas Christian's part of the Carlin setup. But here is Toshiki Oyu continuing to extend his advantage here at Silverstone in race 1. Through Woodcote and onto the pit straight to complete another lap. And it's a new fastest lap of the race again, 150.702, so he smashed that once again. Average speed of 190, almost 192 kilometres an hour around here at Silverstone. That just shows how quick this circuit really is, how quick these Formula 3 cars really can be, even though they look very much, I mean, looks-wise, you look at the front of this car, it looks very front aero heavy, it's got a very skinny rear wing, but I think it gives more downforce on the rear than many people might give credit for, maybe because it's got quite good under downforce, to be a decent downforce from what I can see on the rear of the car and the diffuser as well.
And it's incredibly quick. It's I was amazed when I did a track walk with one of the driver coaches this weekend, and the braking points are as late as almost like a Formula 1 car, because they have so much downforce and they're so strong on the brakes that they can get them turned very quickly compared to some of the heavier single-seater cars out there. Oh, and I think that's Rui Andrade, the back of the picture, who's just gone very wide out of Chapel and almost flicked it onto the other side of the track.
It's very well spotted. Did see that just crop into the top of the shot there, so well spotted there, are they, on that top part. Just look at this battle here. 4 cars scrapping over at 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. This is Linus Lundqvist ahead of Nicholas Crutten, the German driver. Kalen Williams, the former Australian Formula 3 champion, so he's used to these kind of cars, no end. And then the third of our Carlin cars with Christian Hahn at the wheel. We say Rui Andrade, 11th place, Stuart Wiltshire, 12th, and Manuel Maldonado, who's been recovering after getting caught up in Lucas Dunner's incident at the start of the race. And he is back in 13th position, but of course he's no stranger to Formula 3 racing. He's competed in the British Formula 3 this year, has been a race winner as well, so he's submitted to the top step, but just struggling a bit in this first race after falling foul earlier on. Lap time wise, everyone in the top 6 last time by all set personal bests, including of course race leader Toshiki Oyu, who set a new fastest lap. But looking at the pace so far, Kiergaard was a fraction faster than Ahmed. Munger was about a tenth slower than Kiergaard. Cameron Dass and Dennis Hauger, meanwhile, are still stuck in the 151s at the moment.
You definitely call this the business end of the race, with the lap time dropping down. And Nicola Kiergaard's just set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 50.614, so just under a tenth faster than Oyu had set. And he doesn't even look like he's in NM Ahmed's slipstream anymore either. So it's incredible pace. Obviously, at the back of the field, we should have Stuart Wilshire setting fast laps now. He's in the slipstream Maldonado, although he has lost that place to Maldonado.
What was interesting, looking at the sector times for Ahmed and Kiergaard on that last lap, is that Enem Ahmed set the fastest second and third sector of that race, but it was the faster first sector compared to Ahmed that Kiergaard set that got him the fastest lap, but only by about 700ths of a second. We see now Cameron Dass is under threat from young 16-year-old Dennis Hauger, who he's raced like he's done this for ages.
Yeah, he's another Rebel Goods, and that would, although that's a mistake that lost him time, to the stewards that would be considered a track limits violation. So Das may get a warning for that.
We'll wait and see if we get any kind of a warning on the screen here, on the timing screen, to see if he does get a problem. The little FL symbol next to Kiergaard's name in third place proves he has the fastest lap of the race. To confirm, it's a 150.614, and it was about 7 tenths quicker. There it is on the screen at the bottom of your picture.
I'm waiting for those two to complete the second sector of the lap, because Enem Ahmed had set the fastest first sector of the race. And he's exactly matched with Kiergaard, but Toshiki Oyu's just set his personal best second sector.
This is the replay what happened to Cameron Dass. He just clipped those outside curbs there, just front of the car lifted up as he bounded back onto the circuit. But as you say, he did extend the track limit, so unfortunately on that instant, the stewards might not be as sympathetic for him as they might want him to be. But nonetheless, pushing hard to try and keep ahead in fifth position ahead of Dennis Hauger as they come across the line to finish the lap. And Toshiki Oyu does a 150.708, and that's only 6 thousandths off his personal best lap time, which shows really good consistency. Enem Ahmed does a 150.707, so he's exactly 1,000th quicker than Oyu on that lap. And Nicola Kiergaard, in his efforts to push, has actually lost a couple of tenths on that last lap to get the gap up to 1.1 between himself and Enem Ahmed, who is settling in well back on the UK soil in a car I'm sure he's very familiar with, having raced it pretty much all season in Japan.
I think there will be a lot of scratching heads from the Euroformula field and how Oyu has not only pulled away, but kept that gap at the front, because you would expect it would have gone for his tyres quicker by being so quick at the start of the race, but he's maintained a pace that no one's been able to match at all.
So 4.5 was 4.6 seconds of the gap. Now Enem Ahmed has once again set the fastest first sector of anyone on this lap so far. Now he needs a clean run through sector 2 in order to be able to stand a good chance of stealing the fastest lap away. And we know, looking at the last laps, he can lap on the same pace as Toshiki Oyu, because his last lap was 1,000th quicker than Oyu, as we mentioned. We're on the second to last lap here, so he's only got 2 more laps to do it as Oyu punches down through the gears into the complex of Village and through the loop, which is arguably the tightest corner on the circuit, and then sweeping through the flat out left-hander of Aintree, using all the curb on the exit. Not even any curb on the exit. So that's another thing. He's quick, but also he didn't use any curb on the exit of that run through Aintree. He's such a neat and smooth driver, as you mentioned. So the through here that nicely glides it through, and it looks like he doesn't use any more circuit or curb than he needs to. He doesn't track extend too much. He just simply uses all the track up to the curb and makes the most of the advantage. We see here, this is Caelan Williams getting in contact with Christian Hahn. That was a bit of a clumsy move, wasn't it?
Very, but it has gained Hahn the position, because he wasn't 10th and he's now taken 9th place, an extra crucial point for him.
But the stewards might take a dim view of that. Now, fastest lap of the race has gone to Enem Ahmed, despite as fastest second sector of anyone else in that previous lap for Toshiki Oyu. It is now new fastest lap of the race for Enem Ahmed, 150.456, but unfortunately that pace appears to have come too late for Enem Ahmed. Now then, cars 21 and 12 are going to be under investigation, or they are under investigation for that contact. So Christian Hahn and Caelan Williams, that incident's being looked at by the stewards. But down towards Stowe for the final time comes Honda junior driver Toshiki Oyu, in what's been a fantastic debut race for him here in Euroformula Open at Silverstone. It's a circuit that really seems to suit his driving style. He's very familiar with the car, of course, having raced a car like this pretty much all season in Japan. And ever since he pulled away from pole position, he has simply dominated this race from start to finish. And whilst the likes of Enem Ahmed and even Nikolai Kiergaard are starting to get back onto his pace, it does appear as though at this point in time, it's all good there. It's all well and good there as quick as he is at this stage of the race. But at this stage of the race, it simply is just too little, too late.
Absolutely, an incredible performance by Oyu. I would like to see the state of his tyres once he gets back into Parc Ferme, because that would be the most telling sign of how hard he's actually pushed this race, and especially compared to the two drivers behind him.
So, compared to those, I can see a little bit of possible grading or anything else on the front of Enem Ahmed's car. There's Stuart Wiltshire, another local favourite here. He was competing here recently in the F3 Cup, the MSV F3 Cup races recently to get to grips with the Grand Prix circuit. But into the final couple of corners, he's another young Japanese talent like Yuki Tsunoda and like Marino Sato, and he's taken the lead from his first ever start, taken pole position, got into the lead and never looked back like he's done it, been here for years. Up to the checkered flag. It is a cracking debut win in Euroformula Open. Welcome to Europe, Toshiki Oyu. A great drive and a great win for the young Japanese talent. He wins by 4.5 seconds from Enem Ahmed in second place. Welcome back to the UK to Enem. And third place and a podium for Nikolai Kiergaard. Billy Munger scores a popular fourth place finish ahead of Cameron Dass in fifth. Dennis Hauger and his Euroformula Open debut gets P6. And it's Linus Lundqvist in 7th place. Nicholas Crutten gets 8th on his Euroformula Open debut. 9th for Christian Hahn and 10th for Caden Williams, although both of those cars in 9th and 10th are under investigation by the stewards, so whether or not those positions will be swapped or not, we'll have to wait and see. Rui Andrade will take 11th, 12th place for Manuel Maldonado after he got caught up with Lucas Dunham at the start, and 13th place for Stuart Wiltshire. But here is, effectively, so far, the driver of the weekend so far, Toshiki Oyu, pretty much stormed to pole position. He took the fastest, I say he took the fastest, he didn't take the fastest lap of the race, but he led every single lap of the race, took a commanding victory, and that's only the start of this weekend. He's still got one more qualifying session and one more race to go, and there's every single reason why he could potentially do a double.
He absolutely could. It'd be very interesting what the weather's like tomorrow as well. You can see the sun reflecting off his car now. There's a halo of sunshine celebrating his victory.
Yeah, the heavens have opened the right way. I think you see him celebrating the cockpit. He's pumped up for that one. Look, he's absolutely delighted with that victory. You can see him punching the air with delight as he heads his way around on the cool-down lap.
And my phone is already going off with many messages from Japan. Congratulatory messages, Ryu. He's already making an impact back at home.
So I'm sure plenty of Japanese fans will be watching along and checking the progress of one of their young stars here in Europe. And he will head back to, I'm sure, a very happy Motor Park team after his efforts. And as you say, he might not be a Red Bull driver, but he is in a Red Bull covered car. And what's betting that this might actually catch the eye of the Red Bull Young Driver program with a performance like that? It's not every day you jump to a circuit like Silverstone, one of the greatest circuits in the world, and perform like that on your debut. Even though it's a car he's familiar with, it's not a circuit he's all too well adapted to, but he has done so. He's taken to it like a duck to water. And here's the proof. Toshiki Oyu takes his first victory on European soil, and he wins by 4.5 seconds from his Motor Park teammate and Japanese F3 rival, Enem Ahmed in second place. Nikolai Kiergaard runs out the podium in third place and Billy Munger in fourth. Cameron Dass rounds out the top five ahead of Dennis Hauger in sixth position. Linus Lundqvist seventh, Nicholas Crutten eighth, Christian Hahn ninth, and Caleb Williams 10th or 9th and 10th are under investigation. Rui Andrade, Manuel Maldonado, and Stuart Wiltshire the final finishes, and we lost, of course, Lucas Dunham on the opening lap. So what does the championship? Well, not much, because the top four don't change. In fact, Lucas Dunn doesn't score any points. All it does is changes fifth place Linus Lundqvist. He moves ahead of Julian Hanses now. Christian Hahn is now up to 8th, and Billy Munger breaks into the top 10 after that result. But everyone else who is not here stays where they are. And that's what it means to Toshiki Oyu. You can see the delight on his face. You can see how much that means to him. He may have been successful in Japan. Now he seems to have cracked Europe. And hopefully it's not the first time that we see him on European soil. And I hope we do see him at either Barcelona and or Monza, because it'd be great to see him go up against some of the regular Euroformula Open Championship contenders. Up on top of the car. He is delighted. And why wouldn't you be after a performance like that? Your first time on UK soil. There's his Japanese F3 rival, Enem Ahmed. Straight over to Team Motor Park. And he gives the team a hug. And a great job by all involved. There's Enem Ahmed. He'll be satisfied with his return to the UK soil in second place. Well done to him. And he did well to hold Nikolai Kiergaard off for most of that time. There is Nikolai. And he was the highest placed Carlin driver in that race, so well done from him in that race. And of course, it means that Toshiki Oyu can carry that confidence all the way through into tomorrow morning's qualifying session for race 2. There's NM Ahmed confirmation of second place. And Nikolai Kiergaard, of course, is third. That's a very satisfied look on Toshiku's face after that performance. So to confirm, third place for Denmark's Nikolai Kiergaard of Carlin Motorsport after a strong performance in his first podium of the season. Second place for UK racing returnee NM Ahmed for Team Motorpark, back to Silverstone with a second place finish. But despite how hard he tried, he couldn't catch this man. His first win on European soil. Toshiki Oyu dominates race 1 with Team Motorpark, and he wins here at Silverstone for the very first time. Here's an interview with our race winner down in the pit lane.
Toshiko Oyu, winner of race 1 at Silverstone in your very first race in Europe, actually. So you must be quite happy, yeah?
Yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah, there is nothing to say. I appreciate that. My teammates prepared and perfect machine. For me, yeah. My team did a great job. Yeah.
This is very good victory for you, yeah? You want to come to Europe to race next year?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, all the best, congratulations, enjoy the podium.
I think that's the right answer, don't you? Here's the highlights from race number 1. A cracking start from pole from Toshiki Oyu as he managed to get himself into turn 1 first ahead of NM Ahmed, with Billy Munger getting a good start past his teammate Nikolai Kiergaard up through the first few corners. Drama in the early stages as Lucas Dodo hit one of the sausage curb on the inside line, clipped Manuel Maldonado as a result. Dodo was out on the spot. Maldonado with front wing damage. He had to make a trip to the pits to repair that instant damage. What could have been a decent race for him took a nosedive very quickly. At the front, Oyu dominated from the lead, with Ahmed second, Kiergaard third, and Billy Munger in fourth position. Battles early on between Nicholas Krutten and Linus Lundqvist over position. NM Ahmed was locked into a battle of back and forth with Nikolai Kiergaard, having one of his better runs and a circuit he knows very well, having raced here before in the UK. As has NM Ahmed, and the two went back and forth, just like their British Formula 3 days, as they went through. There was contact later in the race between Christian Hahn as he looked up the inside of Caelan Williams. That is still being under investigation at the end of this race. As they come through, he took 9th position. But in his first ever race in Europe, he wants to come back, and I think we can all look forward to that. Out the final couple of the corners, an incredible lights to flag victory saw Toshiki Oyu take his first Formula 3 victory in Euroformula Open on European soil. Second place to Enam Ahmed, and third place and a valuable podium to Nikolai Kiergaard. And that's how much it meant to the Japanese man. So onto the podium, third place man Nikolai Kiergaard, second place, and the round of applause from Team Motorpark for Enam Ahmed.
First race here at Silverstone.
And onto the top step with a big cheer from the crowd below. Toshiki Oyu heads to the top step of the podium and shakes hands with second and third men. And here is the national anthem for the Team Motorpark, who are the race winners in this one. Whoops, bit of a mishap with his overalls there for Toshiki. And here's the national anthem. The Japanese national anthem rings out for the winning driver, and we'll see the top 3 receive their trophies before we sign off of our coverage of race 1 here this afternoon for Euroformula Open. So, third place trophy goes to Nikolai Kiergaard of Denmark for Carlin. Well-earned podium for him. I think that's his first podium of the season on a circuit he's very familiar with, so well done to him. Second place, someone else who's no stranger to Silverstone, Enam Ahmed. Good to see him back in the UK. His first race back on these shores, and he gets a second place on his first race back. And here is now a trophy, I'm sure, but this man is going to treasure for a long, long time, because the race winner's trophy will go to Japan's Toshiki Oyu as he stands on top step of the podium, a winner for the first time in Europe. And will be also an award for our winning team, which of course is Team Motor Park, and so they'll pick up another trophy for the season. And that's another one that will go back to their base once again. So, a fantastic day's racing. Toshiki Oyu makes an impact. So here's some highlights here from this incredible first race here at Silverstone. Here's a few highlights of this fantastic first race for Silverstone. Just before we finish our coverage here on the online live stream, we're going to quickly do our rookie podium, I believe, for our top 3 rookie drivers. I think we're just waiting for the circuit commentators to finish up the podium presentation. And so we'll be able to get to as quick as we can. But here's a recap of our top 3 rookie drivers. Third place, a strong drive back on home soil for Billy Munger for Carlin Motorsport. That's just deserved for him on the podium. Brilliant drive from young Billy. And I'm sure he'll savour that fantastic run for him. Second place for his Carlin teammate Nikolai Kiergaard, also for Carlin Motorsport, making it a Carlin 2-3 on the rookie podium. And, well, who else could it be but the winner of the rookie, of course, the man. It's his first time here in Europe, of course, isn't it? Who else could it be but Toshiki Oyu, who takes not only the overall race win, but he's also top rookie as well. So he gets 2 accolades for the price of 1 in that race. I'm sure, again, a weekend he's already starting to savour as one of his best ever in his young racing career so far. I think we're going to get quite a large cheer in a moment now for Billy Munger as he heads up onto the podium to collect his third place trophy, because he gets a lot of support, not just in the UK, but around the racing world. I'm sure that as news travels of his third place, he'll get quite a lot of praise and plaudits. He's got quite a few, I know he's quite a few sort of inspirational friends of fellow sort of amputees like Billy after his awful accident. And he is a real inspiration, not just to them, but again to many people around the motorsport world in the UK and throughout Europe. It's good to see that he's brought people who are coping with the same challenges that he has from time to time, bringing them to enjoy a day's racing. And here is his support base, I'm sure. And he's definitely given them a just reward with a very strong 4th place overall and 3rd in the rookie class once we get them up onto the podium. So hopefully we can get our rookie drivers onto the podium in a moment's time. And so I think we're just about ready to get them on the podium. I can hear they're clapping already because they know who's coming. And you'd think he won the race, wouldn't you? Billy Munger, 3rd place on there. Brilliant effort for Billy. Nikolai Kiergaard jumps up to the 2nd step on the podium as top rookie, as 2nd place rookie. And of course, here comes our overall race winner, who's also top rookie, as we mentioned, Toshiki Oyu as well.
You get the opportunity to present the 3rd place award then. to Billy.
As they now present the trophies. But he gets a massive cheer from all the supporters down below.
Second place.
Another valuable podium for him.
Nikolai Kiergaard.
Nikolai Kiergaard gets a second piece of silverware to take away. With his second place rookie trophy.
Trophy in the rookie section, the rookie trophy.
And here comes the top rookie winner as well. Round of applause for Toshiki Oyu. And so the drivers will very shortly spray the champagne. And what's been an exciting first day for Euroformula Open. And a new Japanese racing star certainly has been born in Toshiki Oyu, but can he do it again tomorrow and make it 2 from 2? Join us for more action here at Silverstone from all of us here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Und wieder auf die Karre. Ich flip out.
Champagne goes flying. And Kioya gets a pot of champagne down the back of his neck, which is not what he wanted, but it just didn't go down his very suit. But congratulations, well done to all of them.